argued for a kinder, gentler form of slavery and for a process of gradual change, who derided the abolitionists as divisive and uncouth. That victory did not belong to those who attached themselves to the two parties of American capitalism at that time, the Whig Party and the Democratic Party, both of which defended the system of slavery. That victory did not belong to the Uncle Toms of that time. Instead, it belonged to people like Frederick Douglass, the great black abolitionist leader. It belonged to the black, brown, and white troops who courageously fought and defeated the slave-owning class on the battlefields. And yes, it was a multiracial struggle that succeeded in crushing the white slaveholders. I want to read a passage from one of Douglass's most famous speeches, something that has inspired me as a socialist. Quote, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground, who want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will." On Monday this week, our movement against racism and police violence won a historic victory when we forced a unanimous vote on the Seattle City Council from our movement and my Socialist Council office to ban the use and purchase by the police of chemical weapons like tear gas and all the other barbaric weapons. That Mayor Jenny Durkin allowed the police to use against our peaceful movement. But we won it only because of the tremendous support these demands have in our community, and because our movement truly fought ferociously to win them. The demand, we won that, and we also won a ban on the use of chokeholds by the police. We won it despite the opposition of the Seattle establishment. I agree with the demands of the King County Equity Coalition now, some of which are, we want to defund the police by at least 50%. Join me on Thursday, June 25th, next week at 6 p.m. at Cal Anderson Park, where we will have a big People's Budget Town Hall to discuss how we can get organized to win this. We want a massive expansion of public housing in the Central District of at least 1,000 publicly owned affordable homes immediately. If establishment politicians now want to say Black Lives Matter, then how about bringing some Black life back to the Central District? It is time. It is time to finally make big business pay so that we can fund affordable housing, so that we can fund green jobs, and we can bring back the black and working class community to our city. We want to establish a $500 million anti-gentrification land acquisition fund to help the black community acquire property in the central area. We want to put Fire Station 6, the former Fire Station 6, 100% into community control. If Jenny Durkin doesn't do it, we will bring a legislation from my office, but we are going to have to fight for it together. Release all protesters and drop all charges against them. We also need an independent elected community oversight board with full powers over the police, including policy and procedure and the right to subpoena, hire and fire officers. This will not end racist policing, but the lack of such a body is why we have had police officers not a single time brought to justice, despite the fact that 29 murders have happened since the consent decree, 8 of them under Jenny Durkin. We need to purge Seattle police of all racist and violent cops. And we need to keep building this movement, and our movement needs independence from the political establishment, because that is the only way we can build a movement that serves the interests of our communities, not a movement that ends up being co-opted by politicians who say all the right things, co-opt the language of our movement, and then sell us out. We have to make sure that our movement demands independence from the corporate establishment whom the police face. And ultimately, we need the movement to have its own party that serves us, black people, brown people, poor people, the working class. And ultimately, the only way to win a world free of police, free of oppression, is to dismantle capitalism itself. And we need massive workplace struggles in the workplaces led by rank and file labor movement. Thank you.